The chill of the night seeped into my bones as I walked alone down the dimly lit street. I could hear the distant howling of the wind, and every step I took echoed in the silence, a reminder that I was alone in this desolate place. I had always considered myself a rational person, scoffing at the idea of ghosts and monsters or mad killers in masks. They were nothing more than urban myths and legends, designed to creep you out and get your blood running. But tonight, I would come face to face with something that would test my beliefs, something that would haunt me for the rest of my days. I had heard the rumors about a deranged killer, one who donned a sinister clown mask. The stories were chilling, but I had dismissed them as the stuff of urban legends. That was until I saw him with my own eyes. It was a moonless night, the darkness so thick that it seemed to swallow everything, pierced only by the light of flickering street lamps. I had just left a late-night shift at the hospital, exhausted and longing for the warmth of my bed. I took a shortcut through an abandoned alley, a path I had taken countless times before, without incident. As I walked through that eerie alley, a feeling of unease washed over me. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end, and my heart began to race. I told myself it was just my tired mind playing tricks on me, but deep down, I knew something was terribly wrong. That's when I heard it, a faint, eerie laughter, the kind that sends chills down your spine, chilling and malevolent. I strained my ears to locate the source of the sound. It seemed to come from darkness ahead. With trepidation, I continued down the alley, the laughter growing louder with each step. My heart pounded in my chest as I turned a corner and saw him, the figure in the clown mask. He was standing over a dead body, bathed in the dim light of the flickering street lamp, his white mask smeared with blood. I froze in terror, unable to move or speak. The clown's gloved hand held a bloodied knife, and he turned to look at me, his eyes hidden behind the mask, but his malevolent intent clear. It was a scene straight out of a nightmare. As if pulled by an invisible force, I took a step backward, my eyes locked with the clown's. In that moment, I felt a deep sense of dread, a primal instinct that told me I was in the presence of pure evil. With a sudden, unnerving swiftness, the clown lunged at me, the knife glinting in the dim light. I managed to stumble out of his reach, my heart racing as adrenaline surged through my veins. I turned and ran as fast as my trembling legs would carry me, my breaths ragged and desperate. The clown pursued me relentlessly, his laughter echoing in the narrow alley. I darted out onto the street, my frantic cries for help lost in the night. The clown was relentless, his presence a menacing specter at my heels. I had never been so terrified in my life, my rational mind unable to comprehend the horror that pursued me. As I sprinted through the deserted streets, I could hear the clown's sinister laughter, a sound that chilled me to the bone. I knew I had to find help, but the city seemed deserted, as if the world had vanished and left me alone with this madman. In a desperate bid to escape, I ducked into an old, abandoned building. The air inside was damp and musty, the walls covered in peeling wallpaper. I crouched in a corner, my heart pounding, praying that the clown had lost me. But the clown was relentless, his laughter echoing through the empty halls. I could hear his footsteps drawing closer and closer, the sound of his approach like a death knell. I knew I couldn't hide forever. With trembling hands, I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. I dialed 911, praying for a lifeline in this nightmare. The operator's voice came through, a soothing reassurance in the midst of chaos. I whispered my location and described Clown in the mask. As I spoke, the clown's laughter grew louder, his presence drawing nearer. I knew I was running out of time, that this might be my last chance to escape the clutches of this deranged killer. The operator stayed on the line with me as I moved through the building in the shadows, desperately trying to avoid the clown. I could hear the sirens in the distance, the sound growing louder with each passing moment. And then, just as the clown was about to corner me, the flashing lights of a police car pierced the darkness. The clown let out a blood-curdling scream and fled into the shadows, disappearing into the night. The police arrived moments later, their guns drawn, searching the building for the madman in the clown mask. But he was gone, as if he had never been there at all. I was left trembling, my heart still racing, as the officers assured me that they would do everything in their power to catch the man. I knew then that the stories I had dismissed as urban legends were all too real. The killer in the clown mask was no myth. He was a nightmare made flesh, lurking in the dark alleys, waiting for his next victim. In the depths of the night, I found myself on a path of heroism. I had once been a man trapped in the mundane, my spirit suffocated by the chains of a monotonous existence. But then, one fateful night, I witnessed a crime, an act of cruelty that would change the course of my life forever. It was a dark and stormy night when I stumbled upon a helpless victim, a stranger in dire need of assistance. He had been cornered by a group of malicious individuals, their intentions dark and their actions brutal. I couldn't stand idly by, my sense of justice and compassion driving me to intervene. As I tackled one of the gangsters to the wall, a blade fell from his grasp and landed at my feet. It was a gleaming instrument of retribution, a symbol of the justice I would soon deliver. The blade became an extension of my purpose, a tool of salvation for those in need. With the blade in hand, I fought with a fury, fueled by righteousness. The attackers cried out in pain as they were met with swift justice, penetrating their flesh, their evil deeds repaid with blood. The sharp edge danced across the faces of those thugs and gently skated on their throats, and the squirting blood painted a smile on my face. The stranger, wide-eyed and trembling, watched in awe as I defended him from his assailants. In that moment, he saw me as a hero, a savior who had come to his aid in his darkest hour. Little did he know that this was only the beginning of my mission. As the last of the attackers fell to the ground, defeated and broken, I turned to the stranger, my painted smile a testament to my resolve. With a reassuring nod, I ushered the blade into his neck, saving him from the violent and greedy nature of this world. Finally saved, he looked at me with gratitude, and a tear of joy escaped his eye. His faith in humanity restored by my actions. But my work was far from over. I had found my calling, my purpose in life: to roam the night streets as a savior of the innocent, a hero in a disguise. I was driven by the belief that there were others like the stranger, people who longed for salvation from the darkness this world had become. With the same blade and a mask, I patrolled the streets at night. Some nights, I found no one in need. Others, I saved more than one. On a particular night, right after I saved a man, still laughing in joy from the good deed I did. Destiny led me to yet another tormented soul. Another stranger. A man who looked scared and terrified, his eyes reflecting the fear that consumed him. It was a sign, a cry for help that could not be ignored. I observed him with caution, my painted smile offering reassurance. But as time passed, the man's fear grew palpable. He began to back away, his breath quickening as if he had seen a ghost. In his eyes, I could see the turmoil of his soul, the darkness that threatened to consume him. With a sense of purpose, I began to walk toward him. I knew that this man too was in need of my help, that I was the hero he had been waiting for. I could feel the weight of my mission pressing down on me, a reminder that I was destined to save yet another soul.